Dear content creator, start with what you have. I know there's a lot of pressure right now for you to go and buy the latest gear, the tech, the lights, all of these things, but I'm here to tell you that it is okay to start with what you have. Let's dive in. What up, beautiful people? Welcome back to another episode of Dear Content Creator. I am your host, CharisMaggie. I am so happy to have y'all here. Y'all, I'm not even lying. I wasn't sure if I would get to record this episode because life has been life in y'all, and I have barely had any time, but I said, you know what? I'm going to make some time to be consistent, do this podcast episode. We are on a roll right now. This is episode 9, and I really want to keep up the consistency that I've been having so far. So I appreciate y'all for taking the time to listen. As you see by the title, we are going to be getting into it today, talking about the essentials. What do you actually need to start your content creation journey? In episode 1 of this 3-part series, I talked about laying the foundation, asking those hard questions, those important questions. Why do you want to become a content creator? Things to consider, like the platforms that you want to choose, what is your niche, and also what is your bandwidth for the content that you want to create. And focusing on being consistent over perfection, because perfectionism is not going to really help you get content out there in an essential and sustainable way, you could say. So yeah, y'all, today I don't want to waste any time. Let's just get right into it. What I want for this episode really is to give y'all an idea of what are the essentials that you usually need when you're starting out as a content creator. And I'm going to give some recommendations and share through my journey as well, how I've kind of like upgraded my equipment over the year, but more of like necessity and things that I needed to do to help me with my content creation journey, and to encourage y'all to, apply some of this to your journey as well. So first things first, y'all, I've been seeing so many questions on Threads. Like Threads has been the place to be right now lately. The conversations are happening for sure over there. And I saw so many people asking questions like, what camera do I need to, start a YouTube channel? What mic? What light? People are asking all these questions. And I'm like, you know what? Let's make this episode. And I'm hoping that it reaches the right people who need to hear it. So if you are someone considering to become a content creator, you're just starting out or you're getting back into things, hoping this episode is helpful for you. So first things first, I already talked about this in a previous podcast episode, but when it comes down to being a content creator, there are different types. And so I know the most popular one right now is videos, just because video seems to be the type of content that is being pushed the most. But there are other type of content creators like bloggers. You have, bloggers, podcasters who mainly probably focus on audio. I am someone who does both audio and video. But yeah, I'm going to try and be as balanced as possible with some of these recommendations, as well as advice for here are the essentials that you need. So first thing, if you are someone who's doing video content, obviously you need a camera, right? And you need to go buy an expensive camera to get started, right? Because the camera is what helps you get the content to look the way it needs to look, right? Wrong. Okay, so this is a huge misconception, and it's actually something I also had to learn along the way, in that I thought that it was the camera that would help me to elevate my content, when in reality, it also had to do with some skill and practice and technique and all of that as well, using what I had to elevate my content if I understood my tool. That is a huge problem, y'all. A lot of us have tools and we do not know how to use them. And I'm going to actually give y'all an example through an event I went to this past weekend. The topic of it was mastering content creation with your iPhone. Amazing event. It was hosted by Daniela. If you're living in Toronto, highly recommend. Link in the show notes and description. I sent out updates on events happening in the city for content creators. And she had a guest, Omono, who is a great friend of mine. He worked on projects with me before, and I've seen what he has been able to do with just his iPhone. But what I saw is that it was also about him learning the settings, the capabilities of what the iPhone can do, and also using skill and technique to capture content in such a way that it comes out so beautifully in post-production. So with all that, I'm just basically trying to say, if you want to start making video content, you already have the tool that you need right in the palm of your hand. A lot of us already have smartphone. Me not care if a Android you have, me not care if a Apple you have. Once you have a smartphone, all of these phones that they're making right now, the camera capabilities on them is so amazing. You can get started with your phone. And I recommend that people do start out with their phone first, because content creation is such a commitment. The worst thing that you could do, especially if you don't have that disposable income like that, is to spend all of your money on buying all this equipment and gear, because you say you're going to do content and you have these ideas and aspiration in your head of how it's going to come out, only for you to not be consistent, only for you to give up because you're not seeing the results you want to see in a certain time frame. And so to allow you to be a bit more hungry for elevating yourself, I recommend starting with your phone, see what you can do with your phone, and then you can upgrade as time goes along. But that's just me. That's just me. All right. When I started out a little over 8 years ago, I actually started out with my phone. I started out first with a Samsung that I had, and then that got destroyed and I had to get a new phone, and I just so happened to be able to get an iPhone to buy secondhand. And that's what I started out with until I could afford my very first camera. And I'm going back to talking about phones, especially because when I went to this workshop, one of the things I was able to learn was half the time it has nothing to do with the model of the phone that you have. What I loved about the event was that we had so many different people who had different models of iPhones. Some of them kind of, they felt a bit self-conscious because there were certain features that maybe their phone didn't have that the latest one had. And I just loved how inclusive the host and the guest speaker Omono was, because they allowed people to see that, hey, you guys have the very same settings, that all you have to do is go into your settings and optimize those, and then just learn a bit of technique when it comes on to actually capturing content. It's not about the tool, it's the creator behind the tool. And that was very powerful to get that reminder, because I think throughout my journey, it has been hard sometimes to be creative, because I remember when I just started out and I was forced to just use the resources that I have. You have to be creative when you have limited resources. But as you kind of elevate a bit more and you're able to, invest a bit more in products, especially for your convenience, it makes you a bit lazy creatively, I would say. And that creativity that you have to try makeshift, doing makeshift stuff, having makeshift setup and all of that, it kind of goes out the window, because you don't see the possibility in doing something unless you go and spend money on another piece of accessory or gear or etc. And that's a reminder I had to get at that event for sure. But I guess it's part of the process. Of course, if you're someone who's been in the game for so long, if you don't have to be struggling to figure out how to have a makeshift setup for something, you're going to just pay for the convenience, so you can get right to the efficiency of getting into your content workflow, which I think that's where I'm at right now, to be honest with y'all. But I did invest in equipment and gear over my 8 years. It wasn't just a quick buying of new, gears and all of these things all at once. So started out with my phone, bought a camera, and the camera that I bought, y'all, it was one of those old models. It was a Panasonic Lumix camera, and it was going out of, they weren't making them anymore, and I bought it on Amazon at the time. It was $300, and I got it with a set which came with a tripod. It wasn't the best tripod because it broke very quickly and I had to buy a new one. But when I bought my new tripod, Newer, you see that brand name Newer, big up themselves. I kid you not, almost every product I have from them, it comes in clutch. The tripod I have right now for newer that I use for my camera, I have had that tripod since 2018, so about 6 years now. Like, it hasn't failed me. It's very sturdy, strong. I love it. I love their products. But I'm going on a bit of a tangent here, I realize. So yes, camera, guys, start with what you have. Start with what you have. Learn how to use what you have, and just know that it's not about the tool, it's about the creator behind the tool. I can't emphasize that enough. So what about if you want to upgrade to a new camera? Well, I mean, yes, if you want to get a camera, because trust me, I know the struggle of recording on your phone, and you have to try and find time to make space to dump it on your computer or a hard drive, or you forgot to do it and now you go out to somewhere and you want to record and it tell you your memory full or whatever the case might be. So I fully understand. I have a camera that I bought this year, a new camera I bought this year. This is my, I would say, third camera that I've invested in over my 8-year period as a creator. And how I got to buy this camera was through recommendation of me actually going into the store, the camera store. Henry Camera, big up on yourself. They have amazing stuff. They were so friendly. And I recommend that every creator do this instead of asking people online what camera or just overall what gear to buy. And the reason I say that is because what works for somebody or their reasoning for buying something is not going to maybe align with why you need that specific camera. And so I find that when you are aware of what it is you want a specific tool for, and you talk to professionals who can give you recommendations and advice, sometimes they might give you great recommendations for, tools or brands that you probably weren't considering, maybe you never heard of before, because you were so focused on just the advice you were getting of like popular, gears out there. A lot of us fall into that trap, or, our faves, they tell us about something, we go out there and buy it. And I know some people mean well when people are asking these questions and people give recommendations. However, sometimes I want y'all to also know, sometimes when people give recommendations, there's a commission they get if you buy. So that is why I say get a truly unbiased opinion when it comes onto the gear you need by asking the relevant questions. Here are what I'm looking for in this specific thing. What would be a couple recommendations that you can give me? And they can usually give you it according also to your price point. So that would be my recommendation for how you can go about with buying your first camera. All right. Now let's talk about mics, y'all. As you can see, I have a mic that I'm using right now for this episode. When I started my very, very first podcast, because just so y'all know, this is not my first podcast. This is my second. My first podcast I did during the pandemic, and this was about entrepreneurship. It's on a hiatus. But when I started that, I did not know anything about podcasting. I didn't know anything about mics and any of that. And it was a dear friend of mine who had a podcast at the time. She had an extra mic that she gifted to me. Her name is Shalina. Pick up yourself. She has a podcast called Everything 90s Podcast. Y'all, if you love Everything 90s, as the name suggests, go ahead, check out the pod. I'm going to put the link in the show notes for y'all. But I just wanted to show y'all, this was the very first mic that I got when I started podcasting. Very efficient. It was a USB mic. All I had to do was plug it into my laptop. If you are watching this on YouTube, you can see me showing you the gear. For my listeners, I am pretty much showing this podcast mic that I have. The brand is Fifine. And it was very essential to help me because at the time I was recording remotely through StreamYard, and all I had to do was set up myself with a table, plug this into my laptop, and I was good to go. Had a really good sound quality as well. And yeah, I really, really appreciated this start that I got from a dear friend. And so I want to also help a content creator who wants to start out. If you are someone who wants to do anything related to audio, this is one of the things that I'll be giving out as part of this episode. I want to help content creators who are on their journey, who want to get started, but maybe you're missing certain tools. Instead of me getting rid of the ones I have by maybe throwing them away or whatever, I want to give them away to somebody who actually needs it and will put it to good use. So if you're interested, please sign up for my newsletter. Link is in the description and in the show notes. I'm going to send out an email regarding that specific giveaway that I'll be doing. But yeah, that's specifically for podcasting. So this was the mic I use. But before I got into podcasting, if you listen to episode 1 where I talked about why I became a content creator, I actually started out on YouTube. And at the time, I did not consider audio. I will be honest with that. I was one of those people that had very horrible audio for my videos. Eventually, I upgraded and I got my very first lav mic. So it's a bit of in tangles right now. But for this mic, if you can see, it's one of those that you plug into either a phone or the camera. This is the mic here. I just need to put the mic thingy over it. And then I just have an on and off button right here. And for this particular brand, it was Boya. It was really efficient. Honestly, it helped me out with what I needed to do. Naturally, you know, as we kind of outgrew wires, especially for mics. I personally was, you know, kind of having issues as well with the wires and having to navigate that. So I was one of those persons that when the wireless mics came out, if y'all know the ones I'm talking about, the one that everyone holds in their hand, where you can plug it into your phone and just go and record, I eventually invested in one of those, especially when I did like my short form IG and TikTok videos. I don't have it right now to show me because I gave it away to someone, but that was another type of mic that I eventually used as well. And it did its work as well. I used it for about 2 years. And then this year, your girl upgraded to another type of mic, which I've been loving so much. Actually, let's go into things I'm loving right now. So for this segment of things I'm loving right now, I have to plug this mic that I've been using from Hollyland. This is the M2, I believe, model of it. And what I love about it, I got the creator set. It has 2 mics in there, but also like the adapter for if I was to use it on my camera. And the beauty about this is that it's so small and not so obvious recording. I know y'all have seen some of those other bigger, bulkier mics out there. DJI is one that I know I see a lot of people with. I like that this is small enough for me to put on me, but also I love that they gave me the flexibility of actually wearing it in different types of ways as well. So I have this like little chain necklace thing that I could put around my neck. I have 2 of them that came in there, and it allows me to like put it around my neck and I can record on the go. I especially use this for when I'm like vlogging with my DJI Pocket 2. So this is an amazing mic, and what I love is how affordable it was. I know everyone right now is probably using the DJI mic, which is like 400 and some, but for this was actually a recommendation I saw from another fellow content creator named Kaya. Big up yourself, Kaya. And this was like $200 and something. So if you're looking for any Christmas gifts to give to a fellow content creator starting out, I'm basically giving y'all a wish list right now that you can go ahead and, you know, give someone something they might need to help them on their journey. And don't worry, y'all, I put all the links in the show notes. I may get a small commission if you use my link, just to put that out there. But yeah, this is one of the things that I am absolutely loving right now. All right, so enough about cameras, enough about mics. Let's talk about lights. So I'm being very mindful to not really recommend specific lights. I mostly will talk about like brands, just because I want people to know that there are different options out there. When we're talking about mics, I know a lot of people know about like Rode mic. If we're talking about lights, I don't know what brand a lot of people tend to use, but there are so many options for lights. I started out with 0 lights. When I started out, I used to live on campus at my university, and so what I used to do was go into the classrooms when they didn't have classes and record. eventually I didn't have to do that anymore because I became my resident assistant. So I got my own room, my own little bachelorette room. And that's where I used to record my videos. And so I invested in 2 softbox lights. So this came as a set on Amazon. I believe it was like 70 US for it. Amazing lights that I loved those lights. They really came through for me and did a lot for me during my, my time in university. And even when I came to Toronto, I actually just gave them away to a friend this year because I upgraded my lighting to some of the newer panel lights. And these are the ones that can change the lighting and all of that. So I have one on my left and right now. And then in front of me, I have ring lights, which this was actually a gift I got from my now husband. So yeah, this was all done in the span of 2 years. Like my lighting upgrade, I would say, with the ring light included. I got the ring light, I would say in 2021 was when my husband gifted it to me. I still had those 2 panel lights I told you about, or softbox lights, sorry, that I told you all about. And then this year I gave them away, and then I just upgraded my lights from the softbox to the 2 panels. So yeah, use what you have, y'all. There are so many different types of lighting systems that you can use out there. If you're someone who uses your phone still to record, there are the lights that you can clip on. If you are someone who maybe don't have the big ring lights to use, they're the ones that you can also just hook onto your computer, like as a USB one. I actually got one from Costco a year ago that I use sometimes, especially when I have to do virtual recordings. I will have it that I use since it's able to just plug into my computer. So lots of options, y'all. But shout out to Newer though. They are a brand that I use, as I talked about them regarding, I think, the tripod that I have. I talked about it. If I didn't, my tripod that I use right now is from Newer, and my lights is from them as well, both my ring lights and the panel lights. So we talked about camera, we talked about audio, we talked about lighting. Of course, you need tripods as well. And this is another one of those advice I'm going to give you where I say, simply do research and look at what works for you. The tripod I've been using is a Newer tripod, and I've had it since 2018, and it has been going strong. It hasn't broken. It's very sturdy. I've used all types of size cameras on it. My phone, my now camera, the other camera I had before, like, it has come in clutch. I won't even lie to y'all. So make sure you can ask questions, read reviews, of course, but also make sure that you're researching. I think we've gotten lazy, y'all. We don't want to do our research, but research to see what works for you, what's in your price point, and go from there. You don't have to break the bank to be a content creator. You can use things that are right there in your fingertips. I don't have it nearby me to show y'all, but there are also tripods specifically for like your phone. I have one that I use, especially when I'm going to like influencer, like PR events. I will bring it with me just because it's easier to bring and more carry friendly than like my actual camera tripod. So I try to have different gears for different situations, as well as someone who has been in different situations where I have to create content, and I just want to be prepared in those situations as well. So let us go on to talking about the software and, the softwares that you will actually need as well, especially if you're a video content creator. We're talking about software and also like subscription. So let's start off first with like editing software. This is one I see also commonly asked. People ask, what kind of editing software do you guys use? What kind of editing software? I actually started out with Movie Maker, Windows Movie Maker, when it used to be free. Y'all remember the days when the editing thing actually came on the computer? Nowadays, they have you buying that, and I think it's like an annual subscription or something like that. Anyways, I outgrew Windows Movie Maker. It didn't have some of the features I needed, and so I upgraded and eventually started to use Filmora. Yes, Filmora is what to this day that I still use. So 2016, when I started out, I was using Movie Maker for a little bit, and then I moved on to using Filmmaker and to this Filmora, and to this day I am still using it. When I want to edit vlogs, when I'm doing my podcast, that is what I still use. And it is not a free software, but what I loved about it was that I could just pay one fee, have it on my computer, and all I would pay for in terms of subscription is if I wanted like certain special effects and things like that. But other than that, it's not like some of the other, editing software subscriptions out there where they like have an annual fee for you to pay every year. Like we ain't doing that. Let me pay for you one time and done. Please and thank you. But I have heard great things. If you're looking for a free editing software, I heard that DaVinci Resolve is free. Had no idea it was. Heard about it so much. I've never used it before. I'm actually going to consider playing around with it. But that's also an option for you. You can also look into Final Cut Pro if you're someone who has a Mac. And Adobe Premiere, I mean, starting out, I wouldn't really say that is like a friendly, like beginner friendly tool, but it does come in handy when it comes on to maybe like job opportunities. If people are looking for you to be specializing in a specific editing software, I know some of the people, when they look for editors, they can be very specific that they want you to know how to use Adobe. So if you know how to use Adobe, y'all, then you will know how to use all the other editing softwares out there. But that's it for like mainly editing for desktop. I know not everyone has a laptop, and being like, aware of that as well. Not everyone has a laptop they can edit on. There was a time I had to use my phone to edit, so I would use InShot. That is free, by the way, for you to use. It has some capabilities, but if you're looking for something more advanced in terms of editing capabilities, then CapCut is another option you can look at. Just know there's a free version, but there's also a paid version for a lot of like the advanced editing things that you might want. So just something to keep in mind. And those are like the essentials, y'all. Like anything else would be extra. I know there are like things like subscriptions for music. I personally use Epidemic Sound. I had it for when I had to do a video project and I needed to use copyrighted or copyright free, royalty free music, but I basically pay for a subscription so that my videos don't get flagged. There are other ones out there like Artlist. Artlist is a subscription service. I believe they don't just have music, they also have like motion graphics and things like that. I actually learned about a free music copyright subscription or platform called Upbeat. This is what I learned at the event I went to about how to master content creation with your iPhone. So shout out to Amona for that plug as well. And what else was there? Those are the main ones I know, but there are so many. If you're looking for free ones, just know that maybe sometimes it requires you to only use it on the platform. So if you are a YouTuber, YouTube has free music on actual YouTube that you can use, like not typing into YouTube. I mean in your settings in the background of your YouTube channel, there is a place for you to find free music for you to use for your videos. So you can avoid using copyrighted music and you don't have your videos getting flagged. And then some of these editing platforms that I mentioned before, they also have free music on them as well that you can use. So many options, y'all. The point is to start with what you have. And along the way, of course, there are going to be tools and software that you might want to invest in if it makes sense for your content creation flow. So I'll give you all a perfect example. When I used to do my long form videos on YouTube, especially my interview style videos, and I wanted to take clips from it to post on like my Instagram to promote it and whatever, I used this software or this subscription called Subtitle. But the only disadvantage was that I had to find the clips. So I had to, after I finished edit, I had to go through my videos using like transcription maybe to like find an error in the video where I'm like, okay, this is like a nice sound bite to promote the episode. And then I would upload the footage into Subtitle. It would subtitle my videos for me, and then I could put like a header that I wanted, a color scheme, I could put my logo, etc. So I did that for a couple of my videos like a couple years back. I don't really use it that much anymore, not only because I don't interview people like that anymore, but because I just didn't really see the purpose of me needing it anymore. And so recently, especially for when I am wanting to advertise my podcast, there's this new thing I found out about called Opus Clips. And it comes in clutch because all I do is upload it, like the link to the software, and it pulls up to like, you could get like 20 clips from one video, depending on how long your video is. And it pulls out these video clips for you, and it ranks it according to like how catchy or how trendy it is, maybe how the topic flows, the topic, if it's on trend, like all of that. It like ranks it for you, and that way you can decide, all right, this is a clip I will use or I won't use. And I've been using that to help me a lot to promote my podcast, especially on Instagram. I need to get better on TikTok with that, but Instagram right now, I've been promoting my clips that way. So that is like one example of like a nice to have thing. It's not something you need right away when you start out as a content creator, but for me and my workflow right now, I know I don't have the time to be going through a whole podcast that's like half an hour or more long for me to find sound bites and clips for me to use and advertise or promote my podcast. And so using an AI tool software like that has been helping me a lot. It is a paid subscription, so that's why I say it's a nice to have, not a must have. Additionally, for this podcast that I started, I did want to also invest in better sound quality for my podcast. And so I invested in Descript, where it gives me so many features. You guys have heard me talk about Descript before. It's one of the things I'm loving right now. And what I love especially about it is that it allows me to record my audio in my podcast, clean up the sound, but also I can get my transcription for it. And it also has like an AI tool where it can generate YouTube titles for me, social media captions, and show notes even. So it really helps with that workflow for me that I've already done all the heavy lifting with, scripting my episodes, writing it, recording, etc., and editing. And it helps to do all those additional stuff that maybe I would have had to have extra time to do, or in some cases hired someone to help me with it. And I not have money like that for hire nobody right now, because this is a new podcast and we haven't been making money yet with it. But in Jesus' name, we will one day, okay? So yes, these are some of the things that I have used over the years, some of the things that I'm currently using. And over time, as we have more episodes, I will be recommending or plugging some of the tools and software, especially with AI being so big right now, that I've been using for my content creation journey to help me with maximizing my workflow. That is probably going to be an episode that we can talk about how you can maximize your workflow, how I am doing it, and hearing from you guys of like how you are doing your workflow as well to help you, especially with being consistent. So with that, y'all know the drill. We are going to end off with our Dear Future Me segment. If you are new to the podcast, basically this segment is for you to reflect on the episode. You are writing a letter to your future self. It doesn't have to be super long. It can just be one sentence, two sentences, whatever resonates with you. So here is my Dear Future Me letter to myself for this week's episode. Dear Future Me, always remember that the story and passion behind the content matters more than the tools. Equipment is just a means to amplify your voice, not define it. Amen to that. In other words, as I said before, and I'm going to keep saying it, the equipment or the tools that you're using is not what makes the content. It is you, the content creator, that makes the content. So use what you have, use it to the best of your ability, elevate, upgrade as time goes on to help you throughout your journey. But do not feel pressured to buy new things just to think that that is what you need to get started, because expensive equipment, if it's not used properly, it's not going to get you anywhere. If you're not being consistent, you're not going to get anywhere. If you're not honing in on other skills that are needed to help you on your content creation journey, the expensive equipment is just going to be that expensive equipment. So I hope that you all enjoyed this episode, that you got something from it. And to give y'all a little extra gift for listening to this episode, I am going to be putting in the show notes like a guest or a wish list, a gift wish list for you. based on the, tools that I talked about, some recommendations based on the different categories to help you out on your journey. And I hope that it will help you. Maybe send it over to somebody that you want to buy your Christmas present this year. I have curated a list for you, and I hope that you enjoy. That's a wrap for this episode. Remember to come back for our final episode in this 3-part series, and we're going to be talking about media kits. Don't know what that is? Well, come back for the next episode for you to find out as we talk about it some more. See y'all in the next episode. Bye.